Hello, hello, hello. I was just waiting for everybody to turn up. I said I'd be on for about 11. We lost the internet, but we're back. And when we get a few more people in the house, we're going to start the animal attack novel discussion. And we're going to talk all about apocalyptic horror, apocalyptic animal attack books, anything apocalyptic, because it's Monday, we're all at work, and we need something to look forward to. And you are the first to arrive. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? You're the first to arrive, my dear. Give it another 5 minutes and then see who else pops in. Hello, hello, hello. We're starting to wake up and everyone's coming in. Hi, how you doing? Right, when everyone's ready, got a cup of tea, got a snack, and ready to discuss animal attack novels, great. Well, that's very nice. I bet you get a few out there, don't you, of these type of books? And that's what we're discussing, books. Okay, novels, books, apocalyptic ones, dystopian, horror, you name it, we're discussing it. I'll be on for the next hour. Yeah, hello, hello. There we are. I thought the first one we would, crikey, I moved that just down slightly. There, that's a bit better, isn't it? I thought the first one we talk about is one that James Patterson did back in 2012 on the 3rd of September. And I remember buying this from the bookstore when it first came out and I loved it. And it's James Patterson and Michael Ledwidge, and it's called Zoo. And it is absolutely, utterly terrifying. If you ever wondered what would happen if all the animals across the world suddenly decided that we were no longer at the top of the food chain, and even your pet mouse will become completely savage within the premise of this book. It is horror in its purest form. Even butterflies become absolutely savage. I know, it's just a brilliant novel. As I say, it came out in 2012 on the 3rd of September, and it's called Zoo by James Patterson and Michael Ledwidge, and it is absolutely horrific. It's a zoologist's nightmare. It starts off quite, a normal day. The sun's shining in the sky, a bit like Monday. We'll just say it's a normal day like today. And a zookeeper is doing his rounds in a zoo out, I think it's in San Diego, and he's minding his own business and he's going past the lion enclosure. And suddenly, it's almost like a sixth sense has gone off in the back of his mind, and he thinks something's not quite right. The sound isn't quite right, because normally they make like a rumbling sound, the lions. But these lions are deathly silent, and you can feel them watching him. And he goes about his jobs, because he's a zookeeper of the lion enclosure, and it's his job to feed them. And they know it's feeding time, but they're not interested in what he's got for them to eat. He's interested, I should say, the lion and the lioness are interested in eating the keeper. And the attack is very, very swift, and it is absolutely brutal. And that is the start of your novel. Yeah, so that's the start of how Zoo gets going. And then what you are faced with is lots and lots of reports are coming in up to government level, and each and every report that's coming through to all the different countries are getting more and more savage and absolutely brutal attacking from the animals. And it gets so bad that government bunkers are set up, but not for us, it's for the great and the good and the continuity of government. And they're all sort of sat within their bunkers deciding what to do next, while the local wildlife goes absolutely bonkers and is running around and attacking everything and anything that they can. I mean, even a flock of birds in a garden just turn absolutely savage and eat the gardener. You know, it's things like that. It's just absolutely brutal. And we're basically left to fend for ourselves. And they're trying to find out through the scientists, through the zoologists and all the scientists that they've got there, and all the government hang-ons, if you like, government bodies that have been there. The United Nations gets involved. Everybody is having their say, apart from the people that have, well, are there any of us normal folk left, or have we all been eaten, you know? And to be fair, the people that are sat in the bunker really aren't right bothered about any of us lot that are topside trying to fight off, you know, bear attacks in the middle of Paris. That was brilliant when the bear turned up in Paris and, you know, started eating the local residents. And it's the absolute brutality, and they're trying to find out what's caused it, what's made all the animals flip. Now, one hypothesis from one of the zoologists that's there says, well, it could be the fact that we've really, really gone for it with pollution. And, you know, we've just not reined in anything at all, and we just pump the water, you know, the seas full of sewage, and oxygen is depleting, and the ozone layer is, you know, that's been attacked by all the chemicals that are up in the atmosphere. You know, permafrost is melting, you know, maybe an ancient virus is getting out. The thing is that they're clutching at absolute straws, because literally nobody has got a clue as to why all the animals have suddenly decided that, you know, we're no longer, as I said, at the top of the food chain, and, you know, we're there as their food. And that's how the book plays out, and there's no sort of definitive plan, if you like. It's just that the animals have been treated so poorly over the years that another one of the zoologists turns around and says, or maybe it's the way that we've been treating them, maybe they're trying to tell us that enough's enough. You know, they've been used for years and years as lab experiments, you know, mice in laboratories and rabbits and monkeys, and maybe they just had enough and it's their day. Maybe it's, you know, it's how the apocalypse should be, brought down on us from on high by the very creatures that we've been so cruel to. Perhaps it's our turn. And, you know, it is the apocalypse. There isn't any other way to describe it. You know, everything's gone to pot. There's no more food being delivered. There's international trade has gone out the window. Nobody is at war with each other. We're at war with the animals. And the animals aren't going to stop what they're doing until they've eradicated the world of us. And suddenly when mankind realises that perhaps not all is as it seems, and we really are on our uppers, we try to fight back, but it's so ineffectual and it's so late in the day that there's hardly any of us lot left to fight against the animals. I mean, you're talking about a 90% reduction in humanity, us lot, because all the animals have eaten us. And it's an absolutely brilliant book. It really goes down to the wire as to whether or not humanity stands a chance against the animals, or perhaps it's just our time to just disappear and for the animals to reign supreme. It certainly flips the apocalypse on its head and makes you look at the wildlife and the hierarchy of animals versus humans in a completely different light. It's an extremely fun read. It's not a massive book. It's an average size, but it's a lot of fun and it's well worth the time. And you can get it anywhere, you know, Amazon, you can get it on Kindle. A lot of second-hand bookstores will probably be selling it, you know. It'd be Waterstones, Border Books, independent bookstores. It's still in print and it's widely available. But if you just want something a little bit different, I kind of recommend this one because it's just, like I said, when the animals go to town on us humans, it's done in spectacular fashion. I particularly like the scene, some wolves, and they're hunting these, I believe we're in Russia, if I remember rightly. We're in Russia and they're being hunted, the hunters are being hunted by the wolves, and they've been tracking them. These wolves have been tracking these hunters for miles, and like they're out there and they're trying to get these because these wolves have decimated a village. You know, they've eaten everything. It's like gobbled it all up, and like it's the onslaught. It's the absolute battle that goes on between the wolves and the hunters, and you know there's only going to be one outcome, and it's the look of absolute horror on the hunters' faces when they suddenly realise that they're outnumbered and they just don't have enough weapons and bullets. You know, it's simply a case of flipping heck. We're gonna have to go down fighting, lads, but we're gonna get eaten. So we just can't fight them all off. Long weekend, yeah, it is. They redid it late 90s. Again, fabulous. Kept to the premise of the original film, and it is absolutely haunting. Also, there's a really good one as well, Day of the Animals, starring Leslie Nielsen, you know, Lieutenant Frank Drebin. It's just a step to one side for a role that you never thought you'd see. You never thought you'd see him in it. You know, I mean, it's just, it's such an odd role for him, but he plays it so well. It's so hammed up, it's so campy. And it's from the late 70s, and it's called Day of the Animals. And it's almost like a prelude to what we're discussing, which is Zoo by James Patterson and Michael Ledwidge. It's such a good film, but Leslie Nielsen is just, he's completely extra in the whole film. I keep expecting him to go into the role of Frank Drebin, but he doesn't, and he just plays it straight, and it's just so awesome and different. And this is what this book is like, a continuation of that film. Anyway, these Russian hunters, I mean, they're absolutely bricking it. You know, they are terrified. I mean, I'd be terrified if I had all these wolves surrounding me. And there's just don't stop coming. There's just more and more of them. It's like somebody pressed play, repeat, and just like, you know, made all these wolves, and they're just like, you know, wherever you turn, there's another load coming out of the forest. And it's, where are all these wolves coming from? I don't know. But we can't fight them all, and you know, we can't stay up a tree forever, because, you know, wolves can climb trees. I did not know this. Yeah, I know, absolutely terrifying. I mean, I first of all I thought, nah, of course they can't climb trees, but you know what? If they can get a pet purchase on a strong, sturdy branch, they're going to be up. They're going to be after you. You know, you're a wolf snack, honey. So yeah, that's pretty terrifying. But it's like when they decide, when all the governments finally get their act together and suddenly realise that, oh dear, we seem to have lost 90% of the population. My oh my, what are we going to do? They suddenly decide that they're going to fight back. But it's like the animals have all like connected upstairs, you know, in the brain department. And it's kind of like, you know, they're sending these signals to each other. And you know, it's not as if they're actually, you know, sat around the table going, oh, well, all right, Charlie. I said, I think you and the rest of the birds should all attack around about 12 o'clock, you know. Can we all synchronise our feathers so we can all, you know, it's not that kind of like coordinating, but it's kind of like a signal. It's like, you know, like something like Wi-Fi. Something's controlling, and each one is able to sort of like connect its mind to the next animal, and it's like they've all got a hive mind, and they're not going to stop until, you know, we don't exist. And it's really almost beyond hope when the government finally decide that they're going to take some action and, you know, fight back. And it's going to be really, really hard because all the animals now have got the upper hand. It's like even your pet goldfish goes completely savage and it turns into a piranha, and it wants, you know, it's going to eat you. It's going to jump out of its fish tank and it's going to come after you. And the government realising, and it's not just our government, it's governments, successive governments all around the world suddenly realising that that's it. You know, Goldie the goldfish has got your number, it's after you. Time is 6:30 a.m. My own phone is at 20% and I am watching. Huh. That's a strange thing. Okay. And we're here to just talk about horror books, yeah? Yeah, okay. And it's just Goldie the goldfish is like, got your number, and it's jumping out of the fish tank. It's after you. You know, it's no longer interested in fish flakes, you know, or whatever else it is that are in the bottles that fishes normally eat. And the fishes are circling the prey, you know, and it's not, and it's your local, it's your pet cat, you know, no longer wants funky chunks, it's going to eat you. And the dog's the same, you know, they're hard enough. It's no longer going to be walkies, you know, fetching his lead, he's going to hang you with it. So the government hatched a daring plan with the zoologists and the scientists and the climatologists and anything that's got an ologist in it. And off they go on the epic battle of battles to try and create I want to say it's like an antitoxin, an anti-venom, some sort of magic go juice, which all the animals can take to make them behave like, you know, a cute cat, a pet dog. The goldfish to just swim around the castle in, you know, the fish tank. The frogs not to jump all over you and hop you to death. And I won't spoil it for you, but the ending's pretty spectacular. It's not what you think. It's pretty brutal. It's pretty brutal. Part in the Simpson when we cut away to a bird sanctuary where the birds were attacking the nest. How is he? Mole man. Do you know, I kind of remember that, but I don't. I'll have to sort of look it up about the animal. Anyway, so, sorry, getting back to the story of Zoo. The ending is absolutely brutal, but it's perfect to finish the book. I don't know why it received so much hate when it was first released. A lot of people said that the story on it, the plot was ridiculous, and that But that's what you want, right? You're not. I don't understand sometimes with certain reviews and people and thoughts on certain books, but it's apocalyptic horror involving us at the end of the world with the animals with the upper hand. I have actually done a book review on this in case you want to check it out, because it is thoroughly brilliant, is the novel. And calling it a ridiculous premise, well, an awful lot of apocalyptic books are ridiculous, because there's no way, in all honesty, something like that will ever happen. But that's what makes it fiction. And I just love it because it's a step out of the norms for apocalypse. You know, you can have an apocalypse where there's a flood, or there's an earthquake, or a volcano goes off, or there's a fire, or perhaps there's a pandemic that wipes everybody off the planet, you know, or maybe an asteroid's gonna hit. And it's so rare that you get a really good animal attack novel that is purely based on the animals having the upper hand and we've had our time on Earth. And, you know, we're about to go and join the choir invisible. And I love it. I wish they did more of them. Another one that I'm going to tell you about, and it is absolutely brilliant. It's a British writer. He's not done many books, and he won the Terry Pratchett Award, right? And his book is called Apocalypse Cow, and it's just hilarious. And I don't think it started off as a comedy, but it works on that level. It's comedy horror at its finest. Right, I'm going to tell you who wrote it in a minute, because I've got the book upstairs. Michael Logan. Not only did he do Apocalypse Cow, he did World War Moo, which is the follow-on. You know, France is looking at the United Kingdom with its nuclear warheads facing us, ready to strike one off at a moment's notice, because they know that it's not going to be long before we're all trying to get down the Channel Tunnel through to Calais on the other side. And they're frightened that all the animals that are here in this country are going to be following us. It's just absolutely mental. There's a scene in there with a bottle of iron brew and a poodle, and it's absolutely savage. And it's called Apocalypse Cow by Michael Logan. As I say, he won the Terry Pratchett Award for Best Newcomer Zombie Science Fiction Sci-Fi Horror. And we've got zombie cows, right? They've all, forget the cud, they want blood. That's the tagline of the book, and it's just hysterical. It's not just the cows that get infected, it's every animal across the United Kingdom, and kittens just go berserk. As I said, the poodle went berserk and had to be taken out with a can of iron brew. Just absolutely mad. And there's a scene where suburbia is being, shall we say, evacuated by the army, and it just goes to show the level of mentality of the people that live in suburbia. They haven't a clue, you know, and they're turning up at the collection point where the army's supposed to be coming down to pick them up before they're all like eaten alive by all these animals, and they're there with the Louis Vuitton suitcases, and it's, you know, it's the middle of the apocalypse, and they're there at the collection point waiting for the army trucks to come along with Louis Vuitton suitcase, and it's just the way it's written, and it's absolutely hysterical. And they look as though they're ready to go on a holiday, you know, to Mediterranean, and they haven't a clue what's going on. And let me tell you about the red squirrel attack, where they really do go berserk, and the squirrels really are after your nuts, and they won't stop. They're like kamikaze pilots, these squirrels. They're just focus, man. They're off. You know, it's like every squirrel in Scotland got the memo. You know, we're meeting on the heath. We're not going to stop until everything's just been munched and crunched, and off the squirrels, off they go. They're just absolutely psychotic. It's a brilliant read. I haven't yet read World War Moo because I haven't found a copy, but when I do, I will be definitely reading it, because Apocalypse Cow is phenomenal. It's, as I say, he's not done many books as Michael Logan, but what he has produced is pure quality. And if you really, really enjoy science fiction and zombies and zombie cows and psychotic squirrels and poodles meeting their end with a can of iron brew and kittens, you know, that just are not interested in the ball of yarn. It is brilliant. And the cows, they're savage, man. The cows just will not stop. And we've got a young teenage lad, right? A journalist that's just lost a job. She got fired from the newspaper that she wrote for in Scotland. And she knows what's going on. And they've all been sort of like taken to the headquarters of... It was funny. It's got an acronym that sounds like Mad Cows, right? And this lad has got, I think he's an abattoir worker, and he's the only one that wasn't eaten when they were, you know, when the cows have come in to turn them into burgers. Well, the cows at this point weren't feeling very well, and then suddenly, like, you know, somebody rang the dinner bell, and all the abattoir workers all got slaughtered, and the only person that were left was this one guy that was hiding, and you know, to get away from the other cows. So it's him, the journalist, and this teenage lad, and I'm not joking. They're the only thing that stands between the cows taking over the United Kingdom and an absolute annihilation of the human race. It is a fabulously frantic read. It's funny. say it appeared. Terry Pratchett read it. This is before he got really, really poorly, and he just said it's going to get an award. I'm going to give it the Terry Pratchett Award for the most bizarre, bonkers, apocalypse zombie cow book I've ever read. And henceforth it was named Apocalypse Cow, and it's just absolutely fabulous. And I've done a review on Apocalypse Cow as well, and it's well worth the read. It really is. It's funny. And the scientists have got a very warped imaginations, and they accidentally unleash an experimental bioweapon that transforms Britain's animals into sneezing, bloodthirsty zombies. But before they want to eat us all, they want to bonk us all to death. Yeah, they did, and it's horror, humour, zombies, science fiction, fantasy, absolutely gory as anything, but hysterically funny. Absolutely hysterically funny, and it's well worth the read. It got, I have a first edition, and it came out the 10th of May 2012. He said, another one that came out that year in 2012, and it's just so funny. It really is. I mean, the sneezing and slobbering all over you, and before they want to eat you, they want to, pretty much bonk you to death. I mean, that's why the squirrels were after your nuts, because it's just too funny. I won't say how it ends, but with our intrepid trio, anything can happen. Quite literally, anything can happen. And it is absolutely savage. Right, before I start talking about another brilliant animal attack novel, take 5. Go get yourself a drink, get yourself a biscuit, snacky, something like that, and I will be back later. I've just got to do my job now, okay? I'm back for it. I'm just doing my job for a bit. Oh, I'd have to put the printer on, wouldn't it? Almost there. Oh, I didn't mean for that to go on the floor, but there we are. There we go. Hello, hello. I'll be with you all in a minute. We have so far discussed James Patterson and Michael Ledwidge. We have discussed Zoo, and we have just done Michael Logan and Apocalypse Cow. And they are two absolutely hysterically funny. Well, I would say Apocalypse Cow is hysterically funny. You know, if you fancy a story all about zombie cows, may I recommend that. There certainly isn't anything else on the market quite like Apocalypse Cow. It's won the Terry Pratchett Award. It's got 3.5 stars from Goodreads, 4 from Amazon, and Barnes and Noble is 4.5. So you are getting a good quality British comedy horror, and just stunning. It's just such a funny story. Yay. Just have to bear with me one moment. I've got to nip next door and make sure what washing's doing. I would say everything is going a-okay in the ironing, the washroom. Right. The next book that we're going to talk about in the animal attacks is Prophecy by David Seltzer. Is a 1979 American science fiction monster horror thriller. All right, it was a film. The tagline went, "She lives, don't move, don't breathe. There's nowhere to run. She will find you." Prophecy. Starring Robert Foxworth as Dr. Robert Verne, Talia Shire as Maggie Verne, Armand Assant as John Hawkins, and Victor, I'll tell you in a minute, and Victor Racimo as Ramona Hawks. Victoria Racimo as Ramona Hawks. So it's quite the novel. Well, I said that's quite the film actually. And I'll tell you when the book June 12th, 1979. Prophecy by David Seltzer. Now I've done this as a book review as well. Right, 20 years ago, fact, 100,000 people were wiped out in Minamata, Japan. The cause, a chemical neurotoxin. Effect, sickness, madness, death. Source, water now in Manatee County, Maine. Biological changes are beginning to occur. People are sick, their minds are confused. Children are born dead, born deformed, and a family of campers has been found dead, mutilated by some incredibly brutal force. The prophecy has been horribly fulfilled. Published June the 12th, 1979, and it is absolutely brutal. The doctor, Dr. Verne, is called out by the Forestry Commission, you know, the people that are in charge of things in the States, you know, the wildlife and the forestry department, and they just said something's not quite right. People are getting mutilated. This entire family went on a happy camping trip and never came home, and when they found the bodies, we couldn't work out what it was that had attacked them, because it looked as though several things had, because the bite marks and the claw marks and everything else they'd found on the family that was just, you know, no more. It just looked as though different animals had attacked. Now what they don't realise is that there's something not quite right up in Manatee County in Maine, and the water could be the source of it, because up there is a giant factory that makes paper, and it's a big sawmill, and they float all the logs down that have been harvested. You know, we've got loggers up there, and they're also going missing. You know, we've got 3 fellas, but unfortunately there are only 2 left. It's that bad joke, I know, bad joke. And you know, all these lumberjacks, that's the word I'm looking for, lumberjacks are like going missing as well, and some cavers have gone missing, and some climbers have gone missing, and something is having a really good old time chewing up anything and everything it can. And the factory that's making the paper is sort of like hiding something, and the riddle is that Dr. Verne realizes what metal is still a metal even when it's in a liquid form. And right, and if all the scientists out there are going to be like, yeah, it's mercury, yeah, you know, it's still a metal even in a liquid form, and it's mercury, and mercury's been getting out of the factory where they're making the paper, and it's been getting into the water, and because now it's in the water table, anything and everything that is in that river has been, you know, drinking the water, swimming in the water, eating things that have also been swimming and drinking the water. And so you can imagine now we've got a little bit of a problem, an ecological disaster on our hands. And the local native Indians that live up there have been drinking the water, bathing in it, and eating the fish that have been in the river. And of course, this has not boded well with the pregnant women of the tribe whose children are born either deformed or dead, or they're just spontaneously aborting them because of the chemicals, and most of all because of mercury, because it's mercury poisoning. And what does mercury do to the brain? Well, it makes it confused, it confuddles it, it put holes in your brain, because, you know, it's a highly toxic metal, and because they've been using that in the process of making the paper and not disposing of the water properly like they agreed and they should have been doing, the Forestry Commission now, who are also in bed with the paper mill people, and like everybody's trying to do like the biggest cover up going, and it's really quite difficult when you've got frogs probably the size of my ironing board. I mean, that is a pretty impressive looking frog, and these frogs anyway, they're not really the one. You should see the size of the tadpole that came out. I mean, it was the size of my iron. If you've never seen the film, do yourself a favour, sit down and watch it. It's absolutely brilliant. It's proper monster horror, right? And it's really terrifying. And when you see what's been going around picking off the campers and you know, having a good old time picking off the cavers and eating all the lumberjacks, you're going to be like thinking, oh well, yeah, of course it was that. Of course it was that. You know, and it's busy doing what it wants to do. It's lolloping around the countryside. It's like, you know, it's driven mad by the fact that it's been poisoned by the mercury. It's had babies that are even more mutilated than itself, and it's upset because its babies have died, so she's miffed with that. She's annoyed and angry with the fact that she's in excruciating pain, and she's ravenously hungry, and she's going out of her tiny mind because the mercury is affecting her brain. You know, it's affecting the rest of her body. It's just killing everything. And so Beastie, which is nearly 9 feet tall, and I mean she's mighty mad. She's 9 foot tall. She's mutated beyond mutated. Her brain's being eaten alive by the mercury poisoning. She's just lost her children, and you know, and she's not having a good time. And she's running around the countryside and she's gobbling everybody up in sight. And the film's amazing. And the book is just fantastic. It's not a long read, but it's absolute classic 1970s ecological disaster animal attack novels. You see, there's some really good ones out there, and this is one of the really good ones. So if you really fancy something slightly different, a bit of an ecological monster attack, animal attack novel and film, and they're both as good as each other, and it's not often I say that. Sometimes I always think the book's better than the film, but this time I thought the pair of them worked very well together, and I would highly recommend it. And as I say, I've done a book review on The Prophecy by David Seltzer. Do you know, amazingly, this guy also wrote Omen. You know, the one with Damien, the darling little boy that everybody loves because they're absolutely terrified not to. Well, he wrote The Prophecy as well, and it was just flipping awesome. It's one of my favourite monster movies from the 70s. It's just so cool. And it was back when they were doing proper props and you know, animatronics. Nothing was CGI. It was all puppetry and people running around in monster suits, and it's just so good. You see, we don't get that level, and the quality of acting was brilliant. You really got invested in the film because the characters were so good. They were really believable, and the ending, oh my goodness me, it sort of like sucker punches you, and the look on the scientist, on the doctor's face, and his poor wife, and it's like, oh, you poor people. You didn't ask for this, and you're just about to you're living the nightmare because your death is about to be born. And it's just absolutely phenomenal. Hello, I didn't see you come in. Good morning, another Space Nut Kevin, and thank you, Alan, for holding the fort and making sure everything's going tickety-boo. Yeah, green screen and computers these days. Did all this science fiction on the life on Mars on that film, meaning... Yeah, exactly. You know, nothing these days has got... Sometimes... it's going to get worse, because now we don't even have to actually have actors, do we? Because the artificial intelligence can create an image on the screen that can look like a human and sound like a human and act like a human and doesn't need to be paid a wage because they're not real. And there they are in a movie. And it's a bit sad because, you know, it takes away the worth of a good actor, doesn't it? You know, it's just... I mean, you can't beat a 1970s monster movie with people running around the main countryside by the river dressed as a, you know, giant she creature that's running around supposedly eating all the lumberjacks. It's just brilliant. It's top tier. And it's funny. I mean, it's not supposed to be funny because some of the attacks though were a bit, you know, they were quite funny. Especially when they're all in the camper van and they're all trying to escape, and then all of a sudden, and you just know that they're all inside screaming, going, ah, ah, and like somebody, like the film crew will be on the outside and they'll be shaking the van to make it look as though it's being attacked by this ferocious animal, and then suddenly this ginormous paw comes ripping through and just goes, raw. And you just can't get that in today's movies. It's just, no, you need to go back in time. If you want that kind of monster movie, go back in time. And it's just an absolute hoot. It's so fun. So anyway, while I'm doing the ironing today, I thought I'd tell you about Prophecy. And if you're interested and you want to check out the long form video that I did on the book review, please do, because it's absolutely cracking. And I'm doing handkerchiefs at the moment. Yes, believe it or not, I have some customers that do like to use a hanky. I'm always busy. I'm always ironing or cleaning or cooking or washing. You know, there isn't a day with a Y in it that I'm not in that utility room. Where do I find the time to read? I do, because that's my unwind time. My ability to relax is dependent on me holding a book in one hand and a glass of something chilled in the other. Good afternoon. Oh, good morning even here, because it's not, oh no, it is afternoon, isn't it? It's 13 minutes past 12. Where's the morning gone? Literally, I've got up, I've done the washing, I've sorted out the cat, I've made beds, I've done dishwashers, I've vacked up, I've got more laundry on, I've done more laundry than wishy-washy from Aladdin. Oh, right, yeah, sure, sorry. Then there was no editing, it was all on film. It was pretty typical negative cutting job as post-production versus Marvel, who spend a week in front of a green screen and months in post-production. Yeah, exactly. The term on film effects was the idea of shooting the special effects in a separate camera, yeah, shot in the darkroom and recording with the original. I know, it's a talent, isn't it? An absolute talent. I mean, who? Right, if you were given the opportunity to star in a monster movie back in the 70s, you'd have jumped at the chance, wouldn't you? I mean, there you are, stood, right, with a robotic arm with a giant claws on the end, looks like a bear's paw. Yeah, you know, we'll call it that. And you've got somebody going, raw, raw, and then there's someone going, let's shake the bus a bit, you know, let's make it like realistic as possible. And everyone on the bus is going, ah. And then somebody goes, oh, let me get the paw, and let me just rock it, raw, and do that. I mean, it just would be so, I'd be saying, yes please, I'll do it for free, because it'd be so funny. You know, I'd be having a great time. You know, like, can I be the monster today, please? Exactly. 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 I'll be back. How? Yeah, exactly. It's all about willing. Back in the day, it was willing actors, prop guys, imagination, and writing, and the combination of all of it together was just phenomenal. And we wouldn't have got Jaws if we hadn't have, I said, anybody got a can opener? No, we got a shark. Oh, well, we'll use that then. Hey. I've just had to swap the washing. Literally all I am doing today is wishy-washy. Widow Twanky has got a better work-life balance than I do right now. I'm doing a lot of work, a lot of laundry. And breathe. Yeah. I know, right? But you know what? Sharks are more afraid of you than you are of them. They're literally only coming up to check you out to, decide whether or not you're a fish or not, because they can't tell the difference. Because us thrashing and swimming around in the water is no different to sharks being in the water. Fish being in the water, sorry. And they're only attracted because they get the electrical impulses and they can feel, they can sense, they can smell blood, and they can just lost the signal, it just dropped out. I don't think we should be talking about. Yes, we've done it. I hope. Oh my goodness me. Nobody move. Nobody move. It might upset it. Take it as a sign. Don't talk about sharks. Awesome. Whatever it was, we were talking about sharks, and we were talking about 1975 on the 20th of June, right? That film is 50 years old. And can I just say that the film and the book, Peter Benchley's book, Jaws, is vastly different to the film. And I actually, in this occurrence, prefer the film to the book, because the book it's gritty, seedy, full of very unlikable characters, and I think basically what Steven Spielberg did is he said, right, well, I'll take the shark and I'll take the premise of the plot being a tiny seaside town in a place called Amity is being stalked by a shark who is running, well, he's not exactly running, is he? He's swimming around, and he realizes that it's not bad feeding ground, the water's the right temperature, maybe there's some lady sharks around that maybe want hi, how you doing? I'm Mr. Shark. And lots of little baby sharks are going to be on the scene before long, if you like. And the rest of the plot that was in the book was just like, yeah, we're just not going to go with that. And I'm really glad actually that they didn't, because like I said, the characters in the book that Peter Benchley wrote, I mean, not that I'm saying that the book was awful, it was good, but they weren't likeable. And if you're going to make a movie, right, and you're rooting for Chief Brody and Hopper and Quint, and we all know what happens to Quint, and if you don't, where have you been? This film's been on the planet Earth for the last 50 years. Don't tell me within that time frame you've not found 5 minutes to sit down and watch that film. If you haven't, tonight, cancel your plans, you're sitting down, you're watching Jaws and reporting back tomorrow about how flipping awesome that film is even. And quite frankly, it's the perfect horror movie. The music. The Shark should have got an Oscar. Oh, sorry, my arm just jumped out of its, you know, when I pulled the iron back, the joint, the bone, it went against the socket, and my arm just went and jumped. It's a bit painful when that happens. Can you not watch the film? Oh. You can watch it on your computer, there's no excuse, with headphones on. It's the music, the storyline, the filmography, you know, the way that Stephen did the film, it's just, it is a perfect animal attack horror, and it's 50 years old this year. Show it some love. Watch the film. It's fantastic. I mean, Richard Dreyfuss, bless him. He must be nearly 80. And I don't even think, well, I know Quint, the guy that played Quint, Robert Shaw, he's gone. And correct me if I'm wrong, but hasn't Chief Brody also passed away? I'll have to check that. I could, but we live in a property the size of a stamp. My studio space doubles as a living room when we have guests. Oh, you can. Oh dear Lord, that's made me laugh. Oh, let's see. I'm just going to type in Chief Brody. Roy Schneider. Okay. I mean, he was brilliant. Roy Schneider was brilliant in Marathon Man with Dustin Hoffman. And he was also in 2010 Space Odyssey. Oh, he died in 2008. Wow, it's a while back. Aww.
And he was in the French Connection as well. A staph infection. He was 75 years old in 2008 and he had cancer as well. I didn't know that. Multiple myeloma is a cancer of the white blood cells. It starts in the bone marrow and spreads. What a thing to die of. Wow, that poor man. And it was 2008. Gosh. Oh man, that sucks. I didn't know he died of that. Oh, you know, to me, he's Chief Brody, right? He's like the god, you know. He took out Jaws, you know. All else pales in comparison to his sharp shooting skills. I mean, admittedly, the shark was chewing on a gas canister type, you know. It was either a gas canister or a bottle of you know, the diving tanks that go on your back. I should know. I used to be a diver. Oxygen tanks, thank you. Brain. And obviously Bruce the shark's chewing that, and he's like thinking, oh, well, only one of us is going to be swimming home and it ain't going to be you. So it's like, and off he goes, and then the shark just goes. I mean, if you've not seen it, I'm going to spoil it for you. The shark dies at the end. You know, all that, and the shark's dead. But it's still a cracking film. So yeah, it's 50 years old this year, 20th of June. I mean, that's just, you know, and the thing is, right, you can tell how good a film is if you're still talking about it with such reverence 50 years later, you know. It came out the year before I was born. The summer before I was born. In the spring. Now, all my life I have loved horror, I have loved science fiction, I have loved dystopian, utopian, apocalyptic, end of the world as we know it. I cannot get enough. I literally get up every day looking forward to the apocalypse because there are so many ways to which we can meet our end. And if I don't know about it or I haven't read it, it's unusual because I just consume that kind of pulp fiction, if you will. I have one book upstairs, and when did it come out? Yeah, I'll tell you. George Stewart. Earth Abides. 1949. It came out in 1949. The exact copy I've got is from the first run of the first edition of the book that came out that summer in 1949, and it's the first edition novel, and I found it in Cincinnati, all the way out there during the pandemic, and the nice gentleman that ran the bookstore there in Cincinnati said, not a problem, I will package it up for you and I'll send it out. And it's beautiful, and it doesn't actually have a dust jacket with it. It's the dark navy on the spine with the gold lettering. It's so pretty. It's such a beautiful book. And then it's got blue cloth boarding, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And it survived from, I was saying, 1949. So it's not going to be long, is it? I've got another 20. Oh, I'll work it out for you. I don't know. It's 76 years old, right? So we got 24 years. It's within my lifetime that this book is going to get to 100 years old, right? In another 24 years, this book will be 100 years old, and it has survived. And it's within my ability to protect this book. And I absolutely adore it. It's everything you want in a novel that covers the end of the world. You know, they did a television series, funnily enough, about it. Was it Paramount that did it? Anyway, it came out last summer, I think. I have yet to see it, but I've been told it's pretty reasonable. I mean, you know, it's they've kept the characters, which is good, because obviously, you know, if you start messing around with a titan like that, and it's a grandfather of pandemic novels, is Earth Abides. So in 24 years, that book upstairs will be 100 years old. It'll be officially an antique. And I was lucky enough to be able to find it and have it sent to me during the COVID pandemic, which, you know, for me, that makes it quite a special book. The washing machine is singing. It's letting me know it's halfway through. Can you believe that? I just don't know where I'm going to find the time. Where am I going to put all this washing? That's the question. You know, I've got a finite amount of cupboards in this house. I'm going to have to get pretty inventive with the way I fold stuff. Now, how about, is everybody up for talking about spiders? How about 6 foot tall spiders? Man-eating spiders that are 6 foot tall and are running through the woods of the Northumbrian county and descending upon Newcastle at a rate of knots, gobbling up students left, right and centre. What, lose the art of reading? Heavens forbid. No way, Muriel. Absolutely no way, not on my watch. Is it because we can't concentrate? I mean, you know, there is nothing finer than a chilled glass of something deliciously gorgeous. Dare I say hobnob biscuits? A little bit of a weakness. Why not? Snackies. Snackies are important in life. You know, you're only on this planet for a short time. I'm not, what's that saying go? I'm not here for a long time, I'm here for a good time. And if I want a glass of something nice and chilled and my hobnobs and my book, Oh, am I to deny myself such luxurious, treats? Yeah. Anyway, as I say, Muriel, not on my watch. We are readers. Readers of the world unite. Find your bookmarks and wave them in the air. Well, that's depressed me. People like ourselves will be with the advancements in BMI brain computers. The idea of reading a book will be a novelty. People will likely download content direct. Hey? No way. We've got to keep on reading. If we don't, then Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. I got that right. Crack, I can't remember the title of the book. Yeah. Oh, I did get it right. Oh, see, I'm not going senile. Fahrenheit 451. Yeah, which is the temperature at which paper burns. If we're not careful, I'm going to have to become one of the book people. Ooh, Mount Etna's just erupted. Whoa. Do you know what? Mother Nature will get us before we stop reading books. Neuralink, Nolan. Huh? Oh. All right. Wow. That's a bit like Demon Seed by Dean Koontz. That. Blimey. Well, that being said, if he needs it, if he's in a wheelchair, bless him, and he wants to communicate with the world, I mean, Wow. So imagine giving that implant direct access rather than in Nolan's case. Neuralink aims to be a commonplace as laser eye. Well, okay. It could have probably helped somebody like Stephen Hawkins, because obviously that poor man, he had what was it? Oh, come on. It was a neuro thing, wasn't it? Not Parkinson's, it was, I've forgotten. And and its end variation is to link the brain direct to the internet, and in humans imagine no phone and just internet access as a thought. No, I don't like the idea of that. I mean, you know, I'm basically, the chances in the future of me having Alzheimer's are quite high, because my granddad had it, and my dear father is starting to get very forgetful. I mean, he's getting into his 80s now, and he's starting to become very forgetful. And blimey, even I can't remember what Professor Stephen Hawking suffered from. I just know it was something neurological. And bless him, he you know, I think he probably would have benefited from it. You know, this Neuralink type thing. And I suppose if I had if I have got Alzheimer's, then if something like this was readily available, which meant I could keep my brain and I could continue to enjoy reading, because that's the one thing that I'm absolutely terrified of losing is my mind, because I love books so much, and if I can't read a book, if I can't sit and enjoy what's in front of me, a book, then, you know, for me, pleasure of life at that point ceases to exist. And I would hate to regress in my brain and basically become a vegetable. A rare device that has 100 diodes, Neuralink has. Yeah, exactly. So can you imagine if Stephen Hawking had had this? It would have been such a game changer for him. It really would. And just think what he could do with being able to use that machine to talk, you know, for him, because obviously poor man couldn't talk because of the advancement of his illness. But can you imagine what would have happened given the fact that he could have had Neuralink? I mean, wow, way. And it was the only reason he probably didn't get it is because he died before the stuff was, you know, available. I think it would have been so good for him. I always liked what he did for his funeral to prove the fact of time travel. He told everyone that they were supposed to meet on a certain date within the future, and if nobody turned up, then it proved that time travel wasn't real. Or maybe they were, but they were all hiding. I just think that is so cool. That's something that I would put for my funeral. You know, everybody meet up on a certain date just to prove it. The day after I just think that is so flipping cool. Hi Trevory. hello. We're talking about time. I don't know how we flipped onto time travel, but you know, we're going with it, right? We're going with it. Yeah, I want people to come to my funeral in a time travel, and I'll meet up on a certain day. That would be absolutely brilliant. And the only way we're all going to know who everyone is that you've all got to have a copy of James Herbert's The Rats, right? And you've all got to have a copy of that book. And if you're waving it around in the air, I know that you time travelled to the right time with your book. Yeah, spiders to time travel. I was talking about spiders, but hey, we're just gone on time travel. Yeah, but hey, actually, no. We can flip back to the spiders on this one, and I'll tell you for why. Because H.G. Wells is involved, and he made the time machine. Ha! That's the only way I can link it. Yeah, because the chances of anything coming from Mars are 1,000,000 to 1, they said. What? Hi. Don't worry, we're just having a very bizarre conversation about time travel. Stephen Hawking's Neuralink, 6 foot tall man-eating spiders on the rampage across the Northumbrian moors, heading towards Newcastle, gobbling up all the students. Stick with us, it will all make sense. And if you feel like you can handle that, then maybe Mondays are for you after all. And 3 foot long tadpoles. Yeah, exactly. If you can handle all of that, then you're in the right place for Monday. I've just got to get this sleeve flattened. Yeah, we do discuss some very strange things on this channel, but you know what? It works out. Yeah, so anyway, for my funeral, everybody has to time travel to a specific time in the future, and you've all got to, and none of you are allowed to have Neuralinks, and you've all got to have a copy of James Herbert's The Rats, right? And that way then I know that you genuinely got the invite of the time traveling funeral. There we are. If anybody tunes in now and realises that that's the broad spectrum of what we're discussing, I think they'll have to go back and get a stronger cup of coffee. There we are. We're doing an amazing job. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 shirts. About the 3 foot long tadpoles, that was prophecy by David Seltzer from 12th of June 1979. Perfect horror, monster horror, set in Manatee County in Maine. Biological changes are beginning to occur. People are becoming sick. What's causing it? It's been found in the water. There is a mutant 6 foot tall, not a spider, but something else, rampaging around the countryside, eating campers, lumberjacks, cavers, and anything else it can get its little paws on. Classic monster movie madness. Awesome, awesome book, awesome film, definitely well worth a visit. Anyway, sorry, before I went on a tangent about time travel, and we're talking about not reading books as well, weren't we? Which I find absolutely bizarre. Could you imagine a world full of people and nobody has ever seen a book? Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, classic example. The book people have literally got to memorize a book word for word and hold it within their brain until they know that they get to such an age that they're going to have to pass it on to the next generation, and that next generation is going to have to learn the story word for word until such a time as we can go back to having books again. Now, we deal with a gentleman in that story called Montag, who is the main character, the main protagonist, and he's a fireman. And it's not the firemen that we know and love today that put fires out. No, these guys start them, and they are actively encouraged to go around the whole of, it's based out in the States, so we'll go say around the whole of America, finding books and then setting fire to them. And somehow, somewhere along the way, Montag gets a conscience and realizes, actually, what are we doing? You know, are we out of our tiny little minds? So he takes it upon himself to go rogue, disappears and charges off sorry, child's up. I thought I could hear something. The child is up. Been a nuisance. She's only been home from university for less than 12 hours. And anyway, so Montag gets a conscience, goes off on a tangent, decides that he don't want to be a fireman anymore, runs off into the woods and decides to become one of the book people. It was satirical, was the writing. Ray Bradbury was trying to show us the error of our ways and what would happen if we dumb down society enough. Brilliant, said the government, we can control them better, because as Ray always says, a book is a loaded weapon, you know, there we are. It can give so many ideas, it can take you to places that you have never been, and it can make you think for yourself. And if we give up reading, if we give up books and we give up reading, we're giving up a part of ourselves, part of our brain that we are never going to get back. And that part of the brain is our ability to think for ourselves. You know, how much in the progression of mankind going forward for the good of mankind would it be to give up the ability to think for yourself? If we are just going to idly sit back and let the computers take over and tell us how to think, what to think and when to think it, we're on a very slippery slope. Oh. Oh, sorry, right. Sorry, I just got distracted. Anyway, back to it. At what point do we realise that we, as humanity, are on a very, very slippery slope when we suddenly allow the machines to think for us, and then the machines start turning around and saying, this is what you think, this is what you say, and we will tell you when to think it and when to say it. Don't give up books. Don't give up reading. And don't, for the love of everything that's hobnob biscuits and chilled white wine, give up your ability to think for yourself. Oh, cool. I know. Exactly. Where does the madness end? E.M. Foster. The machine stops. Right? She wrote A Room with a View. She did romantic, novels. And here she is making a dystopian book about what happens to humanity when the machine stops. Yeah, exactly. What happens to us when suddenly the machine can't do it any longer and we've given over who we are to the machines? Do we stop with them? Never stop being yourself. Never stop thinking for yourself. Never stop striving for a better world. Not everything has to be done with a machine. It doesn't. One of the best things I remember about my teenage years is sitting with my friends. I mean, bearing in mind we lived in the countryside, so it was quite common. It was quite common to do this. I doubt you do this in a major city, but in the countryside, it's very, very common to set up a circle, a stone circle, and put some twigs in said stone circle on like, I wouldn't say moorland as such, but out in a bit of grassland that hasn't got any grass on it. It's just like bare earth, and we'd get little camp chairs and we would sit out at night and we'd look up at the stars. And we're teenagers, so we're probably going to have some white lightning. Oh, do you remember that stuff? How are our brains still not, rotted away? We're drinking that stuff, and a giant bar of dairy milk. And we'd all be snapping a bit off the dairy milk, and we'd all be having a shot of the white lightning, or whatever, WKD, or whatever it was that we got cheap from Offie. And if you don't know what an Offie is, it's an off license. And we'd sit and talk around a campfire, and we'd tell each other ridiculously scary campfire stories, and it's what we did back in the day. Now you're more likely to chat with somebody through the internet rather than sit around a campfire with your hooch and your chocky bar, I suppose. But that's how we hung out on a weekend. Oh, ouch, that was a bit hot. On a Friday and a Saturday night, that's where you'd find us. We were happy, we weren't causing any problems, we were out in the middle of the countryside. Flipping heck, we didn't even know what the internet was back then. you know, it's nearly 30 years ago, which is quite distressing. Well, a bit more actually, probably more like 35 years ago. Often have fires here too. We're out in the sticks also. Last night we went out looking at the north. Yeah, white lightning. How are we still here? Another space note. How have we not fried our circuits up here? Some of the stuff. Oh dearie Lord. No. And at the thought of actually drinking that stuff now that I'm an older lady, it fills me with absolute dread. Oh dearie me. Do you remember when we used to go to when we were old enough and we used to go to the pub, do you remember getting snake bite? Which is, you know, like your cider, or a red witch. Oh yeah. Made with apples. Oh, I just know that the worst one I ever got really, really ill on was ouzo, and I don't know why I was drinking it like water. And next day, my brain, I was like I had like a 3-day hangover. I was so poorly. I was so ill. You live and learn. You live and learn. You see, we had the advantage of all the crazy stuff that we did was pre-internet, so no one's got a record of it. The only way they got a record of it is if we have a memory, a flashback, and we're suddenly like, oh yeah, we used to do that. Exactly. Not much longer now, my lovelies, and I'll be through all the ironing. Well, all the ironing for the customers, and then, hey, I've got all mine. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see bottom of basket. So, come on, get back on track. I did a fantastic book review over the weekend called Scuttle, and it's all about a 6-foot-tall man-eating spider that's on the rampage across the Northumbrian moorland, is descending on Newcastle, because obviously he just wants to go to Newcastle, and he's gobbling up students left, right and centre, and where did it come from and where has it gone? And the poor lad in question, our main protagonist, is called Hudson. He's a teenage boy. Strange things are going on with our Hudson. He's at a Halloween camp, and all of a sudden some things go very, very wrong. And one of the girls that's on the camp with them, called Charlene, is grabbed by this ginormous spider, this complete unit that is absolutely, utterly terrifying. It's got all the other teenage kids running around screaming, begging for their mother's return. And what was that? When the 3-day drunk thing, and the imparted ascent 15-year-old me, scared future me, on the green demon for life. Oh dear. I'm supposed to be telling the story. talk at the moment. I'm too busy laughing at the last message. Oh, dearie me. Oh, dearie me. That has made my day. Yeah. If our future selves could know. Yeah. That's probably why we ache so much now, right? Because we're so broken from all the daft stuff we did when we were younger. Anyway, don't make me laugh anymore. I'm trying to tell a story. So young Hudson is at this camp telling scary stories, and one of the girls, Charlene, is grabbed by the creature, and when they eventually find this poor girl, she's hanging upside down, bound very tightly in spider webs with her neck. Obviously the spider's been having something to eat, and poor girl, she's unalived when they find her, and the police get called. They can't quite believe exactly what it is that they're seeing, and we don't quite know how to say to the general public, please don't go for a walk through the woods because there's a wild animal running around. And it's how the police and Hudson's dad and Hudson's mom and Hudson's stepdad cope with the thought of this ginormous 6 foot tall spider galloping around Northumbria. And he doesn't just stay in Northumbria, no. He goes international and decides to go on holiday to Texas. And then terrible things start happening in Texas as well. And the ending, oh my goodness me, the ending is phenomenal. And it's got nods to 1970s, 1980s style slasher storyline within Scuttle. The spider, that's just enough to make you squeamish. The kills are unbelievably gory. The storyline is sublime. The fact that Barnaby Walters makes a homage to the greatest, the godfather of science fiction, H.G. Wells, hasn't gone unnoticed. In fact, it's quite pivotal to the whole plot, and it makes a lot more sense as you read through the book. I can't spoil it for you, but the only clue I'm ever going to give is the chances of anything coming from Mars was 1,000,000 to 1, they said. And I suppose if these Martians know that we've got ouzo on this planet, it may make them invade a little bit quicker. It might be just what they're looking for. So there we go. We got the story. We finally got round to the story of the spider. Yes, we did. I know. So it's a Scuttle. If you want, I've done a review. It went up on Saturday. And please feel free to pop by and have a listen. Now, oh gosh, I'm feeling it today. I think yesterday, with all the travelling and all the lifting that we had to do, and all the work and all the stuff that we brought home, I think I'm really starting to feel it this afternoon. I am tired. I am a tired lady. I'm really glad that I've only got maybe 4 or 5 items of mine that are ready to iron. If that, I'm hoping, I've got some t-shirts, I'm hoping they're done. Oh, to be fair, I'm desperate to get through all the washing. It's driving me up the wall. I hate an overflowing. Excuse me. I hate an overflowing basket. It absolutely. I find that more distressing than having to do the dusting and the backing up. I really do. It just the thought of loads and loads of laundry. It's like a nightmare. You know, Stephen King wrote a very short story for a magazine over 50 years ago called The Mangler. And it's about a demon-possessed laundry ironing machine. And do yourself a favour, it's in The Graveyard Shift, short stories. And it's just called The Mangler. And if you don't want to read it, then Robert Englund, who played Freddy Krueger, starred in the 1990s film called The Mangler. And if you like really strange horror, and you don't get much more bonkers and bizarre than a demon possessed ironing machine, maybe give it a whirl. It's fun. It's not very long. The storyline is mad, and the demon laundry machine is even madder. And I've even done a book review on that and the 31 Days of Horror last year for Halloween. And it's just absolutely nuts. It's hysterical. You see, if we lose the ability to read, if we lose the ability to think for ourselves, just imagine all the adventures that you are never ever going to be able to go on. You know, reading a book, right? You can go into outer space in your own living room and still be back in time for tea. It's a form of relaxation. The ability to use your imagination is one of the greatest gifts that your mind, your brain is ever going to give you, is the ability to have an imagination, because it can transport you to places where you'd never think would be possible. And it's a way to protect your brain if you're going through something pretty horrific. You know, it's a way to relax your brain if you're going through a very stressful time, is having a wonderful imagination. Just think for a moment about Never-Ending Story. Do we really want to experience what the nothing is? Because we could. Imagine that. The nothing. That's a bit depressing, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. They still do decide to come down. Okay, it's an awful sight when the basket is full. It is. It's horrendous. You can go to outer space and down to the bottom of the ocean with a friend or foe, climb mountains or swim with dolphins. Books are a gift to the future imagination. They are. And like in the Never-Ending Story, when he had to say the princess's name to stop the nothing from advancing and destroying Fantasyland, I mean, you know, goodness me, we have Falcar going full pell with Atreyu and his horse, which I can't remember the name of the horse right now, and that's bothering me. You know, this little boy, he was hiding in the attic in school, hiding from the bullies, reading a book that the book came from the mysterious man, didn't it, in the bookstore. And he knew that this little boy needed that book because he was going through something really horrific. He'd just lost his mother, hadn't he? Yeah, and he's only a little kid. His dad's preoccupied with all the stress and strain of being an adult, and I think that's a giant metaphor, being the adult, as in that's the nothing. Because when you're an adult and you've got a lot going on in your mind, sometimes having an imagination is second, because you're too busy adulting to get the important stuff out of the way. So maybe that was the metaphor for the nothing. And when we grow up, we forget how to use our imagination, and that's why Fantasyland dies. So basically, I want you all to be singing at the top of your lungs the theme tune, yeah, which was on Stranger Things, yeah, Never Ending Story, right? You have to remember to keep the imagination alive even when you're an adult. Otherwise, what's the point? You will just turn into the nothing, and then you will disappear, because the nothing is what kills everything. Having no imagination, no joy, no lust for life, no ability to switch your brain off and just relax and have fun. It's all in there. So yeah, I want you all singing it. Come on. Can't hear you. Because let's face it, didn't we all secretly want to take a ride on Falco and go flying through the clouds in the night sky? I did. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. Yeah, exactly. You can go into outer space. In fact, I thought Never Ending Story was so important that I bought it for my little girls to watch. And they thought it was fantastic. So I am that extra mom. I'm a 1980s dyed-in-the-wool mom. And Labyrinth. And I also got Dark Crystal for them. And another one called Legend. The one that starred Tom Cruise and it had unicorns. Yeah. So, you know, we do the movies here. I even got them, Bill and Ted 1 and 2, and they both agree with me that number 1 was way better than number 2. Although number 2 was funny, it wasn't as good as number 1. And they do want to go to the cinema with their mother to see Bill and Ted 3. Because we're all curious how that one's going to work out in this family. Two more after this. And then, my darlings, I will say what I always do. Thank you. You've been superstars. I've enjoyed your company. You have no idea how happy you've made this old girl. So we've got 2 more shirts to do, my lovelies, and then I will have to go and do some actual work. I know. Because this, although it is my job, I am a little fairy and I frolic in the dell. I wave my little magic wand and I cast a little spell. I know, where's Rufus, dude? To be fair, flying on the back of a mythical creature would be the dream. It would! It would! Exactly! Flying on Falco! You know, dipping in and out of the night sky, flying through the clouds. Oh, what? Take my money, sign me up. I want to be that kid. I still am that kid. I might be an adult that has to do very adult things like, oh, boring stuff. Cleaning the house. Yeah, doing the washing, standing doing the ironing. But the little kid in me is like, I want to go ride in the sky on Falco. And I want to eat chocolate and not get fat. You know, I mean, that is a stretch of the imagination, isn't it, really? I don't think I'll ever stop being me. Sometimes I have to behave myself when I go into meetings. You know, it's part and parcel, isn't it? Part and parcel of being the adult, but, you know, secretly, I'm back there in the 80s. Yeah. Living the dream. It's such a shame that what we experienced back then, back in the 80s, I mean, we had so much freedom. We were virtually left to our own devices. Our parents were not interested in what the heck we were doing to one iota. The only reason they turned up at parents' evening was because if they didn't, questions would be asked. You know, and they didn't want to be there. The teachers didn't want to be there. We didn't want to be there. You know, we wanted to just be left alone. And I think that being left alone stood us in good stead for where we are now. Because I think, honestly, we're the last generation that could fight our own battles properly, you know, and have the ability to problem solve without needing a therapist. Mind you, saying that now, I suppose if we did go see the therapist, the therapist would be the one laying on couch. We were allowed to be wild children, to go out, to do what we wanted, to experience life, and we did all this without computers, really. I mean, yeah, sure, we got Windows. Well, that came out quite a lot later, didn't it? Crikey, I was nearly 20 before Windows 95 came up. I was heading that way, you know. Computers were seen for playing games on, and that was it. And, you know, you got bored of it and you went outside and you played on your bike. You did football, you played with your Cindy house and your Barbie dolls and Action Man. I mean, let's face it, girls. When you got your Cindy doll, right, and your Barbie doll, were they going to pick Ken and Paul, or were they going to go for Action Man? I mean, you know, I'm saying, right, my Cindy dolls liked Action Man. Heck, I liked Action Man. You know, and we played with these dollies, and we played with colouring books. And do you remember those magic paint books? That was it. And you get a book, and it like that brownie, like creamy, really cheap paper, and you get a pot of water, and you know, the free brush that came with the book, and you put water onto the page, and it turned into that paint. You know, it was like an ink that got released, and all the colours blended into everything else, so it was like a really grubby brown colour by the time it finished. We used to pick one up now and again when we went to the paper shop on the corner where my grandma lived, and we get 10p Lucky Dip bags. We should always have a Mojo sweet. Now, Mojos were just, they were awesome. Mojo sweeties. Better wonder I've got no teeth. All sugar that we had as kids. We had sherbet did dabs and refreshers. And if you've ever done the most mental thing in the world, and you had a soda stream, right? And you gas it, and you press the button on the top until it farted, and that way then you knew you had enough gas in it. And if you're as bonkers as I was, you get the bottle, and it was the glass bottles that we had with the twist going all the way up, the skinny glass bottles. And one day somebody had the bright idea, I don't know if it were me or my best friend, and we decided that we were going to put the glass bottle in with the water and press down until we gassed it up and we made the bottle fart. And then we got the liquid, because I mean, I don't know who convinced us that the liquid Coca-Cola, it was Pepsi, wasn't it? Yeah. That liquid tasted just the same as what you got in a can. So anyway, there we were, gassed up bottle, put the liquid in, right, to make it taste fake Coke. And then we got a pack of refreshers, and we unwrapped them, and we got some, and we thought like, oh, we can get them into the neck of bottle, but they were too wide. I mean, that should have just been a bit of a no-brainer, that maybe shoving it in the bottle was not a good idea. So we snapped these things in half, rammed them down the neck of the tube, you know, of glass bottle, and slammed the lid on and screwed it on really tight. Well, this thing was like a Scud missile. There it was on the floor outside in the patio, and it was vibrating. I mean, you know, the bottle was possessed at this point, and you can see the bubbles forming, and it's getting it, and the pressure. Ooh, the pressure in that bottle must have been phenomenal. And it blew the lid off. I mean, the lid's screwed on, right, threaded on, and it just went whoosh, and it took off, and it went. I mean, the cat, right, the cat we had at the time called, what do we call our cat? Ginger the Ninja. It just, the thing just went and took off, and the cat did, and the cat went like straight through the captain. Oh my dear. Oh, and we just felt like looking at it like, and this, and the Coca-Cola bottle's just like, you know, she said the soda stream bottle's just like it's possessed to this point. We are covered in the stuff. And we just know that when his mum comes home, she's going to be she'll be so angry because there's literally foaming Coca-Cola. It looks like, you know, we need a rabies shot at this point. And it's all over the garden. And so we get the even brighter idea that we're going to go in the house and fill a bucket full of water and some soap, you know, very liquid, yeah. And we're going to fill that, and then we're going to clean up where we've exploded the bottle. And honestly, there's so much foam at this point, right? You can't see where the bucket ends and the patio starts, and it's just insane. We're soaked through. We're covered in syrup from the drink bottle that exploded. There's refreshers all over the place, and there's foam everywhere. And you know, it's 4:30, and your mother's coming home from work, and it's insane. Yeah, and just what we did. You know, you've got to do the refresher thing, you know, right? We were feral, absolutely feral as kids. I mean, I don't think the cat came back till next day. We were just kids. And it's what you did back in the day. You were just mad. We had the best time. We did have such a wonderful childhood. I can't fault it really. But we never did it again. Because refreshers and soda stream don't mix. Taken from someone who's done it. Do you know what I wanted as a kid? All those years ago. Do you remember Mr. Frosty? Right? And the Argos catalogue. Now this is very important if you're British. The Argos catalogue came out in the October with all the hopes and dreams of Christmas in the toy pages. And every year you get your red felt tip pen, your chunky red felt tip pen, and you'd circle the toys that you wanted for your Christmas. And every year I circled a Mr. Frosty. And every year the bitter disappointment of not having a Mr. Frosty toy waiting so I could make my blue raspberry slushie was the smell of disappointment of not receiving a Mr. Frosty. You know, I'm nearly 50 and I'm still salty about it. There's nothing I wanted more than a Mr. Frosty, and I never got one, and I'm so sad about it. And I think in my generation that there are two types of people. That there are the ones that got the Mr. Frosty, and they're the ones that didn't get the Mr. Frosty. And I was one that did not get Mr. Frosty. And I just think it's the saddest thing in the world that I never got one. And to all the people that did get one, was it as awesome as I imagined it to be? Or was I lucky for not getting one? You know, that's the question that's going to keep me awake tonight. Now I've thought about it, I'll be thinking of nothing else all day. Why was I denied a Mr. Frosty? If time travel was real, why can my older self now not go back in time and pick up a Mr. Frosty from Argos? I don't even think they make Mr. Frosty anymore. But if I could, and I had the ability, and I go back in time, that would be the one thing that I'd purchase. Because I never got one, and I did so want one. I know. See, you're learning something new about me, aren't you? Okay. We have one more to do. And then we are done, my dears. We are done with customers for the day. Oh, there we are. Actually, yeah, that could be my funeral, couldn't it? My funeral plan. You've all got to turn up to my funeral with a copy of James Herbert's The Rats book, right? All with your Mr. Slushy, raspberry flavoured slush fun, slush drinks. That way then we know time travel's real. Oh, the joy of Argos. Yes, it was safe enough to leave us peril as long as we got back home with the streetlights coming on, or called an operator to call home. Yeah, exactly. We were left to our own devices. We were able to be the last free kids, and I wanted so much for my own daughters to experience that, and I'd let them play in the garden. I would, but I'd always be keeping an eye on them, because the times we live in now are not the same as the times that we grew up in. Or maybe it's our perception of that, but I feel that maybe it's because back then we didn't have saturation of news 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Sure, I know bad things still happened back in the 80s, but maybe because it wasn't like rammed down our throats 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Perhaps that's what makes us think it was a safer time. Maybe I'm looking at it through rose-tinted glasses. You never know. You never know. Oh, I think today's been a good one. I've enjoyed my little self. I hope you guys have enjoyed yourselves. I hope you had fun talking about animal attack apocalyptic books, time travel, 3-foot-long tadpoles, bears that attack buses in the middle of woods, sharks that swim in the sea that are going to be 50 years old on the 20th of this month, and everything else that went on in between all the very strange things that we've discussed. I will say one thing: sometimes we stay on subject, sometimes we go for a wander and come back to the subject. You will never find this channel being boring. At least I hope not. I mean, the ironing's a bit boring, but the subject matter, I hope, is a little bit more entertaining than the ironing. And I'd like to say thank you very much for your delightful company. You are, as always, superstars. And Alan and Another Space Nut for being the most excellent moderators. Yes, you are. You know you are. Superstars. You've all been so lovely, such wonderful company, and I thank you so much. I really, really do. Come here, my little crease. You ain't gonna be. There you go. Steamed you. Yep, there we are. Beautifully done. Dare say so myself. I am an excellent ironer. Sincerely, thank you very much. You've been such wonderful company. And until tomorrow, my darlings, we've nearly done 3 hours. And now it's time for a cup of tea and a hobnob biscuit. Yeah. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, another space nut. You have been amazing. Thank you for your company. Thank you for keeping me safe online. And I shall see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.